Hello and welcome, this is AlchemistExe, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about all of the things that are new this week. I am going to skip the banner overview because it is just the same exact things as every time a protagonist link unit is released. There are not any interesting TAGA pay banners, so basically you're either a 20-step banner for a protagonist link unit, or you're a 9-step banner for a memento, and so that's pretty much it. It's really more about, do you want to spend the gems on these particular characters? So Amane, of course, is the brand new unit. As predicted, she is Thunder, Slash, all that jazz. And she does appear to be quite strong, and especially in PvP. Tina is rerunning. My opinion of Tina is that she is a very, very good unit to have, but I definitely wouldn't go hard on her banner just because you should be able to get her a cheaper way in the future, assuming the game has a future. We'll talk more about that later. There's also a new memento for Gluttony units. Teona, I think most importantly, and then Lila and Lotia benefit from it as well. And then Teona and Reagan also got alter classes. Now I think that Reagan's is really, really niche. It's very much designed to help Daisy, which I think is an interesting but somewhat confusing choice. Like, are they also going to give Daisy an alter class? Because if they don't, I feel like that's a wasted effort. Now, Teona, on the other hand, could be very, very good to have, especially if you're not thoroughly invested in other really tanky units, like, say, Nidhogg, which honestly you should. Nidhogg is amazing. Or Zafarus. Teona is also going to be a viable option for a tank, and she's going to bring something different to the table. She can do provoking, and then she can also crit, so being able to do damage. And then the memento is going to help her out because it'll give her a buff duration +1. If you have the gear that boosts your P defense and your pierce damage, the gear that was basically made for Teona, then that is going to help you out quite a bit. I wouldn't necessarily spend the gems to go 9 steps on that memento, but if you're a really big fan of Teona, then maybe it's going to be worth it, or at the very least, something to look out for in the future. And then speaking of Teona, in the rerun events, the quest for Daisy's Job Plus is also going to give you a spear for Teona. And then the other quest that's rerunning, you can farm some flags from it and get some free gears. You can also get some free gears just from doing the quests themselves. Some of them might seem a little familiar from Global. I remember the one with the giant octopus and all the different colored tiles. But overall, those gears are going to be very, very niche. They give HP, and they will, on the first turn of the map, for adjacent units that match the element of the gear, it will reduce their jewel consumption. So they could be good to have on a support unit that doesn't really have much other options for gear or necessity. And then you want to get off a really expensive move on the very first turn. That could help you out with that. And there's also, it's just more HP. It's a decent amount of HP for a gear. But anyway, let's go back to Amane, because she is the main focus for the week and the final protagonist link unit. I think she's very, very strong, and it's safe to say that in most contexts she's probably the strongest Thunder unit now. That does mean Slash has to be viable, but she does have some untyped damage too, so she is able to cover a weakness that way. Overall, she can crit on her attacks. She's very similar to Inaku in some ways, as far as having good AoEs and some support options too. For example, she can do an attack on an enemy to disable the buffs and have CT. She can also protect allies from debuffs, which is always a very, very good thing to have. That can be very clutch sometimes. Her reactive is pretty insane. I'll just read it. The counterattack with lightning attribute preemptively against attacks, critical occurrence, greatly absorbs the speed of the target for 1 turn, increases the attack power of the target for 1 turn, can be duplicated up to 5 times. If your HP is 70% or more, you'll also activate a secondary thing, which is going to increase the CT of allies by 15, give them a shield, and then if they're from Wadatsumi, it'll also veil them and give them a healing mod. So it's like Melville's reactive on steroids, so that's very, very strong. She's also just very hard to kill. She can basically keep herself from taking damage as long as it's not coming from wind. And from a PvP context, I think that's very, very good. That, you know, like a unit like Ainz might be able to hurt her, but if you do have Mikaboshi, then she should be able to handle Ainz. So if you are really, really into both arena or live PvP, then the value that Amane is going to bring you is going to be higher than that of an average player. It's definitely hard for me to say anything bad about her just because she is got a lot of good synergies, and then some aspects of her kit are somewhat similar to one of my favorite Thunder units, Inaku. So I think the only real downside is that, as far as I know, you can only get one of the Taurus swords. So it would be nice to be able to use both Inaku and Amane at the same time with their full potential, but hopefully I'm wrong about that. Maybe you can farm it, but I don't think so. I think you get it from doing the Genesis events, and then that's that. But that's okay, let's not worry about that right now. So I don't want to say too much about the basic memento, the one that is covered in Thunder, because if you get Amane, you get that automatically, and so you'll have it equipped automatically. But if you max limit break, you'll get move +1, which is something she'll certainly benefit from. Now, the secondary memento, well, upon max limit breaking that, you're going to get buff duration +1. So that is always a good thing to get. Always makes worth max limit breaking. And then for Link units, generally speaking, they're a good thing to save release for anyway, just because while you're in the phase of getting them to max limit break, the soul shards that you get from limit breaking the mementos are just all the more valuable. It saves you days and days from time in the soul port before you finally get them maxed out. Also, fun fact, not at all related, I just got Ainz finished the other day. I'm very, very happy about that. But anyway, VCR, also quite strong. Ton of HP, single target riz, and then crit. And then for the vision ability, you can do another attack, so just more tools in her kit. So overall, she's got a lot going on, but as far as whether or not to get the second memento, if you are going for her, pretty much I'm going to say the same thing I always say, which is don't feel pressure to do it. The memento to get the character, those are always a higher degree of scarcity than the secondary mementos. Like, it'll take some time before you're going to be able to get Amane on something that's catch-all. But that does not apply to the secondary memento. That's going to show up on banners much sooner. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, and then lastly, I want to touch on the producer's letter just for a moment. Basically, I wanted to bring up that they have said that the main story quest is going to be finished soon. It said the middle of the year, but I think it was supposed to say middle of the month because it was in the context of the monthly producer's letter, and the middle of the year already happened. But they said that once the main story is done, there's going to be some kind of campaign celebration for it, but then nothing else. So I'm still very much of the opinion that the game is not long for this world, whether that means like in the next few months or maybe closer to 6 months. I think that they definitely could make a case for trying to make it to the 9th anniversary and then call it good from there. I will say that as far as the Japanese fiscal year goes, that is going to start in April. So I would guess that if they were looking to shut the game down, cut their losses, they probably want to wrap that up before the start of the next fiscal year. And so February, it would probably be a good time to do that. But again, this is just me speculating. I don't have any info about that. It's just based on experience with other games in the past and news that I've read. That's what I think. I, of course, want the game to go on for longer, but I'd need a good reason to believe that as far as the kind of content they want to make. I was really hoping that with the Astrotarticus being canceled, that they could reinvest some of those funds into their more successful projects, but that has yet to be seen at the moment. But nonetheless, as always, I will cover this game until EOS is announced, so I will keep to that commitment. But yeah, that's all I've got to say this time around. If you're summoning for Amane, I wish you good luck, and I will see you all next time.